All right, everybody, come on in, come on in. Welcome back for anybody new here. Hi, I am Maggie, Maggie, your substitute teacher. You may know me for my cooking channel. I make food and femininity content, and Lucy and I are the proud founders of the Finishing School for the Modern Woman, which is a privately taught 8-week school for ladies of all ages, and registration is open. You have a coupon code down there. We teach elegance, etiquette, and femininity. We also like to give back, and part of what we do to give back is to come on here and share with you all twice a week from an older woman's perspective. And so, Lucy, please introduce yourself and let us know or remind us what are we talking about this week.
Hi, Maggie. Hi, all. Well, I have a channel. Usually, most of the topics or the content is based on teaching Spanish from basic to midpoint. But this year, I decided to change the content to topics about femininity, elegance, and things that would impact women over a certain age. And I want to say the trending word for the past 2 weeks is demure. What does it mean to be demure? Is to be modest, shy, soft spoken, unassuming. So, femininity requires some of us to be demure. And the topic that we're going to talk about today is, I think it's part two of what we talked about on Thursday. Was it last Thursday or Saturday? I don't even remember. It's going to be about some of the things that we can do to hurt our relationships.
Absolutely. All right. So, as you all are coming in, sit back and relax. We are going to share with you. Here's the disclaimer. I always give it because I know there are new people here. We believe in traditional relationships and traditional gender roles over here. So, if you are a feminine woman or want to be a feminine woman in relationship with a masculine man, then maybe something that we share will be helpful for you. I understand and I accept. Not everybody wants that, and that is totally fine. But that's what we do over here. Lucy and I are older women with marriage and long term relationship experience. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Who do we have in the chat? We have Jade Lay saying hello, and Stella. Stella says hello. It's been a while. Thank you so much for being here. All right. So what we're doing is we are reacting to a video from the Happy Wife School, and she talks about three toxic traits that I'm sorry, three toxic wife behaviors that you need to know. So, ladies, I think this could be very helpful if you have or if you want to have a good man and you want to be a good woman to that good man. This can help you have some awareness into some of the things that we do intentionally or maybe even not intentionally. So, for those of you all that were here last time, you can put in the chat if you remember what number one was. We are going to pick up on number two. We're going to play the video and then I'll pause it and we will give our commentary. If you would like to watch it without our feedback, I've always linked the original in the description. All right, everyone.
And again, these were the core behaviors that I very first saw in myself and being red pilled and seeing the truth of my woman ways. And I was very blessed. Somebody asked this week, when did you meet your second husband? I'm married to my first husband. We've been together for 15 years. And I was very blessed again to be red pilled in my first year of marriage. I was very blessed and fortunate to turn things around very quickly before things were too late, too far gone, um, or that I became very selfish and left thinking my husband was the problem. So, what I'm sharing today, these toxic wife behaviors are really the foundation of what I had to first see and know in myself as a woman, to begin to change and begin to be able to have a healthy relationship. with my husband and have a healthy marriage. The second toxic wife behavior that you need to know is being a control freak. Being a control freak. And how I define being a control freak is micromanaging our husband's behaviors so we never have to feel uncomfortable, meaning not in control. I will never, ever forget the moment that I had a reckoning with myself to see the depth of which I was a control freak, especially in my marriage. I was blessed to be red pilled by my mentor, David Cope, who was the first person in all my years of trying to work on myself and first trying to work on myself in therapy, which kept me very stuck in my stories and very stuck in being a victim and blaming. But I met my mentor, David Cope, at a free workshop here in Denver, Colorado. And I was blown away because he was the first person that I had met in a personal growth context to work on myself that helped me see that I was the problem in my life. And that therefore, if I was the problem, I could be empowered to be the solution. And I'm in this workshop. My husband's actually with me. And my mentor asked for a volunteer to really understand what it means to take responsibility. And he asks, and I volunteer. And he asks me, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least, 10 being the most, how big of a control freak are you? And my husband's sitting next to me, and I see him kind of do this number, like, oh, is he's gonna take her here? Oh my goodness. And I'm sitting here. And I, like, I don't know, like maybe a 3. And my mentor says, how do you know you're a 10? And the resistance, and that let me know, okay, we're going somewhere I need to go. But I began to see the depth of which I was a control freak.
All right, everybody. So we are going to unpack this one. Number 2 is control. If you were with us last week, you remember that number 1 was the walls that we build as women, that we expect our husbands or husbands to climb over broken glass, to scale the tower, for us to look down and say that's not good enough. So number 2, she says, is control freak. And I know we may have a visceral reaction to that. Oh, I'm not a control freak. I'm not a control freak. And honestly, ladies, this one had me thinking even about myself. And I think it's important for us to talk about what we've done right as well as what we've done wrong. But she said a lot before we even get to control freak. And I listened very differently. And I just wanted to call out a few things to you all. She said that someone asked her, when did you marry your second husband? She's only been married once. And the point I'm trying to make is that even if you don't start out on the right foot, even if you have struggles in your relationship, hopefully what we share with you will empower you. That's one of the words. Will help you realize that, ladies, you can fix it and you can change it. I did a consult earlier today, and I told the young woman that we are the nurturers of the relationship. Not only, the plants, the animals, the kids, the food, but we actually keep those home fires burning. So we can fix it, ladies. The other thing that she said is she had been in therapy, and therapy kept her as a victim in her stories. So I will just say this. I know how people feel about therapy, and it's fine specifically. But if you find yourself always saying, this happened to me, it's someone else's fault, and you have that audience of someone who's just going to continue to tell you, no, you didn't do anything wrong at all, that other person didn't understand, I would ask yourself if that's actually helping you, because in this space, we believe that we can always get better. So last thing I'll say, and then I'll turn it over to Lucy. As far as being a control freak, I struggle with perfectionism sometimes. And maybe some of you all can relate, where if you're not going to get it done right, you don't even want to get it done at all. Or sometimes you don't even want to try if you think it's going to not be your best performance. And I would say I have to check myself because I think that's a form of control. And being a feminine woman, we should be able to flow and take feedback and get better. Being hard and masculine and rigid is not a feminine quality. And so a lot of us, especially those of us who work, we need that reminder because having to have that certain outcome before we do anything at all, I think is a form of control. So that's something that I can get better at. What would you add, Lucy?
Yeah, that's a good point. The perfectionism. I never thought about it, but if you start thinking and looking at things, is that if I don't do it right, or if he doesn't do it right, then we may as well not even do it at all. So again, it's one of those things that it makes us think a little bit. I think that listening to her, for me, it just allows me to be self-reflective and say, "Am I a control freak?" For my husband, thank God for him, I am not. I am the most chilled person. And I think, Maggie, you can attest to that. I am. There are certain things sometimes that kind of get me, but then at the end, I'm like, okay, so how is this going to hurt me in the long run? It doesn't. But I know somebody that's really close to me that is a perfectionist. And I think I said this story a while back where the husband had put up the lights in the backyard and they weren't done the way she wanted them. And she was going to tell him. And I said, don't do it. Be glad that he put them up. Do not even fix them. He took that time to do it for you. Appreciate that. So again, it's one of those things that we need to take a step back and say, really, just that, those socks or those shoes in the middle of the hallway, is it really a big deal? Pick it up. Pick it up for him. Maybe he's really tired that day and he didn't have time to pick up those shoes. Why not? It doesn't hurt. You're already on your way there. Pick them up and put them on where they are. It shouldn't be that bad. So again, it's take the time to appreciate your man for what he is, and do not try to control his his life or say that you can do it better than him, because you probably could, but when he does it, appreciate it.
That's such a good reminder. I'd love to hear from you all in the chat, ladies. If you find yourself controlling the situation and you care to be honest, put some of the things that you struggle with in the chat. Or for any of the gentlemen that are watching, if you've been in a relationship with a woman who tried to control everything or even something, let us know in the chat so that we can see if we identify with that and say, ooh, yeah, I do that too. Let's continue.
Especially in my marriage, especially with my husband, and how much I micromanaged his behavior, who he spent time with, what he wore, how he cut an onion in the kitchen, how he cooked, um, all the ways I wanted him to work on himself. You've probably heard in another video, I was constantly sending him self-help articles, constantly pushing him to go to therapy because I was convinced he was the problem. I was a massive, massive, massive control freak. And what happens for us as women when we are control freaks in our marriage, and why it is so toxic, is we begin to treat our husbands, who are grown men, as children and micromanage their behavior instead of seeing them as grown up adult men who are perfectly capable of navigating life. I'll never forget, my mentor also told me, your husband would probably be better off and do better in life without you, because of your controlling ways, because of your woman ways. And that hit home and gave me an extra emphasis to change. But
All right, ladies, she had quite the list there. And if we're being really honest with ourselves, maybe you're really chill like Lucy, but I always have to put myself on the hot seat here and check myself with some behaviors, because this is a space where we can always improve, we can always get better. And she said, I used to micromanage how he spent his free time, who he spent his time with, what he wore, how he cooked vegetables or cut up vegetables in the kitchen. Um, so many different things that at the end of the day are so insignificant that we make living with us kind of a nightmare, or we can make living with us a nightmare. One of the other content creators that Lucy and I have reacted to is Psychax. And one of the things he said is that men don't get married when everything is, perfect or to the perfect woman, but they get married when things are unproblematic. And I think as women, we don't understand how important it is. The peace that we create, or the peace that we can create for a man, allows him to focus on the real task at hand and not have death by 1,000 cuts because of us. And if I can be honest, one of the areas where I've had to really improve is in parenting. Because let's face it, as moms, we think we know everything. Can't anybody tell us anything? And there is a time when, yes, especially when the children are smaller. But, I have to say, having boys really taught me a lot about myself. I was that, I'll say, overachieving. Some might say overbearing mom that I would, reach out to the teachers and ask for extra assignments if they didn't get their stuff turned in on time, multiple reminders, you forgot your lunch, just all these things with good intentions. But I didn't realize that I was handicapping them from becoming the young men that they needed to be. You all know I'm divorced. And when the boys went to live with their dad, I was just, a mess. What about this? What about that? And when they got away from me, magically and embarrassingly so, they started to do more for themselves because their dad was like, either you'll get it together or you won't. And if you fail, I will let you fail. I cannot explain to you the visceral reaction that I had in the moment, but it taught me a lesson. And these are young men. So ladies, if you marry a man, like she said, he's a fully functioning grown man on his own, you would not have married him or wanted to marry him if he weren't. So I think we can do a lot better about taking some of that chaotic energy that we have, putting it into a hobby, putting it into a passion project, putting it into some personal development, and letting your man be the man. What would you add, Lucy?
I love that you put your example with your children, because I think children tend to humble us. Having to deal with that, as parenting is a hard thing. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be blessed with children, but I do see it with you, Maggie, with my sisters. It's a hard task, and it really, that's life's test for all of you, whether you can do it or not. Maybe God knew that I was going to be this overbearing mother, and my kids were probably going to smother me at night because they couldn't take me anymore. But yeah, I think that the more peace you can have, the more tranquility you can have in your homes. Your husband, again, like I said before, he's not gonna want to leave the house. Exhibit A, my husband, he rarely goes anywhere because he feels so at peace at the house. He's got all of the stuff that he does outside. When he comes home, it's his fort, it's his fortress. Nothing can impact this. So we as women, as wives, must keep that just tranquility in the home, just so they will keep coming back to us. That's how I see it. My husband, he will be coming back to me until we're 95, 100, because I am his peace. And he's not going to want to mess around out there, because he's probably going to see all that stuff out there. And it's like, nope, I have my good wife at home and everything is good.
I love that. We should all aspire to that. And ladies, I'd love to know what you all say in the chat, but it's so true, especially the older you get. Believe me, the hills that you are willing to die on now, you will not even make your radar when you're older. So choose wisely. Gillis says, what bothers me may not bother my partner, And vice versa. If the dishes in the sink are bothering me, then I do it. I wouldn't order him to do it. And thank you for that, Gillis. Number one, ladies, if we think we're bossing anybody around or, making our man feel small or less than, you are basically on the clock. I was telling one of my consults earlier today, men are not going to nitpick every little thing, but they will use it as a data point and they will file it away. And what you have to realize, ladies, especially those of you all in the dating stage and the courting stage, men look at our behavior now and decide, can I live with that for the next 5, 10, 50 years? Like Lucy says, if you want to be 95, I want to be 95 on the porch bringing the lemonade. If you want that long-term relationship, you need to be making decisions now for your future self. And that's where a lot of, unfortunately, young women miss it until they hit the wall. Now your hair is on fire because you had that superpower when you were getting all that attention and you thought the world was your oyster. And then that ship sails and you're scrambling to figure it out. So listen to the older women. If you chose a good man, we believe in good men here, don't be a micromanager. All right, let's continue.
But we're married to grown adult men who are capable of making their own choices, capable of navigating life. Yet we want to control them and we turn them into children and we become like their mothers and constantly controlling their every move. And it's all based from a place of having low emotional intelligence, that because as women, we are not in control of our emotional state. We are constantly controlling and micromanaging our husbands so that we never have to have that unhinged emotional state that we carry within ourselves. We never have to have that triggered or exposed. And we want to keep everything just so. Being a control freak is also an expression of having our walls up. Again, we're so tightly guarded that we can't let anything in or don't want anything to happen that could shake up that pain and hurt that we carry within ourselves or cause us to have to feel any real or perceived made up pain. And so we become control freaks. And it's selfish. I mean, I think it's pretty clear, but it's selfish because we're trying to control another to do what we need them to do to make us feel in control. And from that place of being a control freak, there is a constant criticism of our husbands, constant critiquing, constant judgment. And we bully them because we disapprove of who they are and we don't want to feel anything uncomfortable within ourselves. So if you're a woman and you ever wonder why your husband rebels and acts like a child, it's because you're a control freak.
Ooh, boy. That was tough. But let's talk about it, ladies. What she said about the reason we try to control our men is because we are so unsettled and chaotic within ourselves. We cannot bear the discomfort of anything else. So we try to fix everything and try to control everything down to the T, because God forbid he step out of line, then I'm going to lose it. Ladies, as my man would say, that's a you problem. That's a me problem. When she was explaining that, it made me think of, without offending anyone, like a Buddhist monk or someone who is just so centered. Like I had this vision of a Tasmanian devil, that is Maggie, running around crazy, and just someone sitting still, probably my man, sitting still like, you done yet? And all this chaos is around us, or maybe within us. And ladies, that's life. You're always going to have an opportunity to be offended. Someone's always going to disappoint you. Don't have kids if you think life is going to stay one, happy moment consistently. They will try you every chance they get. So we have to really do the work to make sure we have that self Control, understanding that we are emotional, understanding that we are chaotic, but I think the awareness, just knowing that this is an us problem. And I think the good news is that it's fixable if we choose to fix it. You all know how it feels when you just decide, you know what, I'm not going to let that bother me anymore. That family member, that, friend, that coworker, that circumstance that used to get underneath your skin, and you just make a decision and do whatever you have to do to just be like, yeah, doesn't really bother me anymore. You can be that way in your relationship as well. And I bet you your husband will love you so much more for it. What would you add, Lucy?
I love that she mentioned emotional intelligence. The fact that because it seems that we are not put together inside, we try to put the world together instead of coming back to us to fix us first, to then go out in the world and try to fix everybody else. And that is something that I think I've, since I'm very, very young, I have observed those people that try to control everything around them. And it's like, you you woke up today wanting to control everybody's behavior. Really, how's that going to work out? It's people are not going to, people are individuals. They have their own agency. How are you going to try to control your husband, the grown man that before you were there, he was doing okay by himself? And those are things that I think about. When I start getting into my little crazy hormonal tornado time, I'm going to go, you know what? He was fine without you. Why and why is he? He would be okay if I disappear. Even though I asked him, he's like, "Babe, why do you ask me those things? Those crazy things that we ask before we go to sleep. Babe, what do you think that you would be okay if I died?" And he's like, "Why do you ask those things at night?" But that's women. That's women stuff. When we ask those random things to our men that they're like, I don't understand where that's coming from. Don't ask me those things. But again, it's one of those things that if you are okay inside, you shouldn't be just so willing and wanting to control the world. I think that's first of all, that's exhausting to me. How are you going to try to control somebody's behavior? So again, it's one of those things that, yeah, as women, it's probably part of us. It's within us to try to fix things, just to make our world just a little better. But take a step back and say, you know what? He can do good all by himself.
I know we have so many women saying, I can do bad all by myself. Ladies, the men can do better than bad all by themselves. And unfortunately for us, a lot of them are choosing to. So be careful what you wish for. Thank you so much, Samuel, the infamous. We're going to continue on, but I wanted to share something, like Lucy said, how we sometimes can get in our own way. Excuse me. I remember one of the times when I talked to Thane, he actually said, "Oh, you like to fish for compliments." And I was like, what? No. Let me tell you what happened. We were going somewhere, me and my guy. He's driving. And I just, I'm looking at him in the driver's seat, just like a girl with the googly eyes. And I made the mistake, ladies. Like Lucy said, I asked the question, babe, what would your life be like if I weren't here? When I tell you that man did not skip a beat, and he said, and I quote, "It'd be the same. I mean, I hope you're here, but if not, it's not going to stop me." It still hurts. It's just like, oh, I was speechless, which in and of itself is a huge feat. And then, as I'm over there crying in the rain, he was like, "What? Was that harsh?" Ladies, let me tell you something. The men that we want are fully capable. Because let's face it, you ladies turn down the men that you say are in process all day long. So if you have a masculine man, believe me, he is fully capable of taking care of himself and you. That's why you're there. So be careful what you wish for. Be careful fishing for those compliments. Be careful trying to control the situation because you want that warm and fuzzy feeling. Believe me. Continue to be the woman that he needs, and you will get those compliments and more in a genuine way when you've earned it. All right. Don't make the mistake that I made. Yes, he is very honest. Y'all, I get my feelings hurt all the time, but I'm still here. All right, let us continue.
And you want to be able to see the selfishness in that, in the toxicity that brings into our marriages. No one likes to be controlled. And it creates a total disconnection and a total toxicity in the marriage. So that's the number 2 toxic wife behavior that I wanted to touch on today, is being a control freak. And this leads to the third toxic wife behavior under that umbrella of selfishness. And this one was a real eye-opener for me of how toxic this behavior is in a marriage and how selfish it is. And that third toxic wife behavior is worry. Worry. And I really want to highlight the selfishness that we have as women when we worry about our husbands and have worry in the marriage. I define worry as a misplaced sense of care and a false sense of care. Because as women, we hide under the guise that when we worry, and specifically and especially in talking about our marriages and with our husbands, we hide under the guise that we worry out of a place of caring about them and caring about their well-being, not wanting them to get hurt. However, it's one of the most selfish behaviors that we have as women and one of the most toxic behaviors we have in our marriage. And this is what I had to learn about myself that was such an eye-opener, is that it's selfish because I'm not worried about the well-being or safety of my husband. I'm worried about the pain I might have to feel or how me and my life might be affected if something happened to my husband. I will also never forget the moment that I recognized how selfish worrying was. It was actually just an aha moment in myself as I had set out on this path of changing these toxic wife behaviors in myself. And so my husband used to like to ride his bike to work from a place we used to live many, many years ago. It was like a 2-minute bike ride, totally safe. And he didn't wear a helmet. And I just used to freak out about him not wearing a bike helmet on this 2-minute bike ride to where he worked. And I would nag at him, talk about being controlling. And I had this wake up moment to realize, oh my gosh, I'm not worried about him and what he might go through if, he was hit by a car or a door. What happens a lot here in Denver, especially the metro area, and I'm sure other places too. But someone might open a car door and there's a biker and they don't see them. And I hid under the guise of, well, I worry about that because I don't want him to get hurt. No, I had a wake up moment that, I don't want, I want him to wear his bike helmet so I don't have to feel the pain of what I would feel if he got hurt. And that was my aha moment of how selfish worry is.
Oh my goodness, y'all. This one got to me. I'm already over here on the hot seat. What are y'all saying? T-Car says no, Miss Maggie, no. Yes, y'all, I get my feelings hurt all the time. Jade says that's honest. Y'all are laughing at me. That is totally fine. Callissa's laughing at me too. But hopefully laugh through my pain. It's true, ladies. And this one right here, this third one, I did not see coming. And you can be honest with yourself or not if this has been a toxic trait you have had in your relationships. The worry and the acting, I would say not just the feeling of worry, but I think the acting irrational and the trying to control using the excuse of worry. And maybe for you, it's not just worry, it could be, but I love you, but I care about you, but I'm concerned, but I worry. And yes, as women, we do feel, but if circle back to the first thing, one of the first things she said, we try to control what our men do in their spare time and who they do it with. Let's say he has an annual guys trip or he's taking a road trip or whatever. And you want to act like I'm so worried you're going to go to another country. What if an asteroid hits? What if they have an outbreak of Ebola? What if? Are you really worried about him? Or, like she said, ladies, if we're being honest, are we really being selfish and trying to control our husbands, our men, by using the label of worry to change his behavior so we get what we want by manipulating him with, I'm worried about you, but I care for you. You wouldn't go out for drinks after work with all these crazy, women in the office or, men, and we don't know them. I mean, anything could happen. I care about you. Or, but I love you. Don't you see that I love you? Why would you want to go make that purchase without letting me know? I love you. I thought we were in this together. So, ladies, you can ask yourself, have you had a toxic trait of using worry or care or love to get what you want? What would you add, Lucy?
I love how she said it was a selfish thing because we're not just necessarily thinking about him, we're thinking about the impact that him being hurt or anything happening to him, how it's going to impact us, how we're going to be maybe annoyed or just put taken away from our regular schedule if something happens to them. So again, and it's funny because that made me think about that question that I asked my husband about if I died, what would happen? So I'm here going, I'm worried, but I'm worried because, is he going to remarry? Is he going to, again, that jealousy thing? It's like, what is he going to do once I'm gone? And he's probably not even thinking about anything. But it goes back to, being selfish. I don't want to share my man with anybody. So no, once I'm dead, I'm going to come back and haunt him. But yeah, it is selfish of us to think that, we can say that we are worried just because we don't want our lives to be turned upside down because of something that happens that we really don't have control over. And yeah, it's really interesting. I never thought that worry part would be significant, but it is. We are as women, our hormones, we are worry words. And I think that when you have kids, I think you become more of that. So I think that when it comes to our husbands, again, like I said before, they will do good all by themselves.
Thank you so much, Swabi, for the $10. We are so grateful, so consistent. We appreciate it. This is just our way of giving back. Like the late, great Kevin Samuel said, the older women should teach the young. So that's what we aim to do here. So I have another confession. If y'all want to hear more things that I've done wrong, I never say I get it right. I just say that I always want to be better. So Lucy said that she would ask her husband, what if something ever happened to me? I took it a step further and I have to check myself once again because I got my feelings hurt. Y'all ready? Another story time. So I decided in a roundabout way to ask about his intentions should the worst happen by standing on my soapbox of pride and saying, you know what, babe? If anything ever happened to you, I don't think I could marry anybody else. I am just so devoted to you and your memory. I would be your Coretta. I would be your I just went on this thing about how I would just be devoted. And I meant it, y'all. I meant it with every fiber of my being. And I do mean that. I cannot see myself with anybody else. Fishing for compliments once again. And he said, and I quote, well, I don't think anybody should be lonely. I was like, you know what? That's not how this goes. You're supposed to say, oh, babe, yeah, I don't know what I would do. I guess I would just go to the park and play checkers with the other old widowers and just think about what life used to be with dear old Maggie. That is not what he said. He was like, I don't think you should be lonely if you're still alive and I'm gone. Y'all. So I was in my feelings, hurt again. But now that I listen to this, I'm like, was that selfish the whole time? Why am I even conjuring up the dead anyway? But ladies, hopefully, with humor, you can realize that there are just things that we've done, that we do. We've been doing since we were little girls to try and wrap them around our finger to get that response. It would be so much better if I would, one, sit down somewhere and stop trying to control and just be the woman that he wants. Be present in the moment and not even worry about it. Because, like Lucy said, when we're with our men, they're with us, or their mind is thinking about all the things they have to do. They're not thinking about 20 years in the future and, all of that. Of course, you put some things in place, but allow my lessons to help you. What would you add, Lucy?
And that's a true masculine man. He stood on his frame and he said, you know what? If it's going to work out any other way, great for you. And also, it says that he's not really selfish. He's going to let you live your life after he's gone. So, again, but you didn't take him out of his frame. He's like, okay, how we test them and push them since we're little girls. We look and see if we can do this to see a reaction. That's what Maggie was pulling. That's a reaction. That's what Lucy pulls every other night when I ask them, what if I was gone? So again, it's those kind of like, selfish manipulation, wanting to, to say that we're worried for nothing. Because again, for me, I got him, he got me, and we're good. But it's that thing that we as women, we tend to maybe overthink because sometimes we don't have anything else to do, that we find a way to just complicate our lives. And that is, worrying is one of those additional complications.
So hopefully, ladies, this is helpful, especially for our younger ladies. I mean, you're listening to a woman. I'm 48. Lucy has shared that she's 58, and we still have to remind ourselves. So you can set yourself up for a lifetime of peace and tranquility in your home, or you can continue these toxic behaviors that I think we are just born this way, wired this way. But when you have the awareness that, oh, wow, yeah, that is kind of selfish of me, you can adjust, and then you can put that nervousness or whatever, that anxiety, whatever it is that you have, channel it into something that's going to preserve your relationship. Let's continue.
So I just wanted to give some examples of the different things that we worry about with our husbands that is actually quite emasculating because it's not trusting them as grown men. And it's also selfish. So a few things that we worry about as wives and as women, we worry about their health and whether or not they're taking care of their health. We worry about their diet and what they're eating. We worry about them getting hurt or injured, doing something perceived as risky, which might be riding a motorcycle. My husband loves mountain sports. So I would worry about him mountain climbing or going on big hikes. Not not wearing a helmet. We worry about money and our husband's job security. We might worry about their drinking. These are the different things that we worry about. And again, from a place of saying we're worried about their care and well-being, but we're just worried about ourselves. And it really, both of the control freak and that we talked about earlier, and our worry really leads back to our walls and how guarded we are as women to not want to feel any hurt or pain. And that's where our worry comes from. And that I wanted to share that today because that was such an eye-opener to me, and what a worrier I was and is still something I have to watch for. So in these 3 toxic wife behaviors, having our walls up, being a control freak, worrying, we have to take responsibility for these behaviors in ourselves as women and how toxic they are to our relationships and marriages. Because here's the thing I've had to learn about myself as a woman. This is in my wiring. And if I'm not aware of these behaviors and the other behaviors that I talk about on the channel, then I can't change. I can't change. And I stay stuck in my own miserableness because what I know about the women that I work with and the kind of woman I am, open-minded women who want to see these things, who want to know that they are the problem, who want a constructive solution, even if it's difficult. And yes, they are out there. Is if I can't see these things and be honest about them with myself, then I can't catch myself in them. What I teach about isn't becoming a perfect woman. Just as men know, it's not about being perfect. We have shortcomings and flaws. Good men have a different set of shortcomings and flaws than us as women. Our shortcomings and flaws as women is exactly what I talked about today, that born from our own selfishness and the walls we build around our hearts and how we inflict that pain in our lives, on our husbands, on other people. I had to know those things about myself so I can take responsibility for them and catch them in myself and hold myself accountable to a level of integrity and character to make different choices in how I show up, or catch myself when I stumble and make a mistake and then apologize and then recommit to continuing to change. I don't know why we're made the way we are, why we're wired. I have my beliefs. I believe God made us this way as women so that we could learn and grow and evolve as women and wives. That's my experience and my belief for myself and my own path. So, like I said in the beginning, none of this is to beat ourselves up or make ourselves wrong. It's so we actually have a path to know what we need to work on and then take responsibility. I have to take responsibility for my selfishness. I have to take responsibility for my walls, for being a control freak, for the level of which I can worry if I go unchecked.
Yeah, this is really good. I want to unpack this one and see what you all are saying as she wraps this up. But I think that the lack of accountability that men complain about with women, I believe and I want to believe that it comes from a lack of awareness. I'm sure there are examples of women who know, yeah, I do that and oh what, so what? But I think there are more of us who don't realize how this shows up in our relationships. And we use this as excuse. I've heard it all, well, that's just how I am. Or, I'm not this way. You bring it out of me. Or, I wouldn't have done that if. That's not going to fly, ladies. Now that you've heard it, we have the choice now that we have the information to get better. And, like Lucy said, not perfect. We're still going to do certain things. But now when I go to fish for compliments, I'm going to realize, yeah, Maggie, this is not going to end well. Just continue to do the things that he compliments and avoid the things that I know he doesn't like. It's really that simple, ladies. We overcomplicate it. And I think we can have a much better outcome if we control the environment by controlling ourselves. When a woman walks into a space and she's calm and she's at peace and she's graceful and she's elegant and feminine and all the things that we teach, the room responds. Likewise, if I pull up on two wheels and I'm loud and everything's crazy, whatever, the room responds as well. Which impact do you want to have? Which impact do you want to have in your marriage, in your relationship? Let's see what you all are saying in the chat, and then I would love to have Lucy add in. Yes, thank you, Suave, for the support. Auntie Jenny says, stop the baby voice, the little girl voice. I don't remember that one, but yes, maybe when we were talking about the way we manipulate, and we've been doing it since we were little girls. Killis says, this one about the worry. This is my downfall. I worry deeply about everyone and everything in my immediate vicinity every second of the day. That's a lot of everys. And I know you said LOL, but excuse me, I would offer that think about how you show up to the people that you care about. I really had to learn this with the boys. Marcus is 17 and has a job and is going to school and everything. And, did you eat lunch today? Like, I'm still doing that thing. And he looked at me. He's going in the service next year. He was like, Mom, stop babying me. Et tu, Brutus? Like, I'm getting it every day. But I have to be reminded that you're still doing it. So now I have to beat it back and control myself, because the men that we love don't love that. Auntie Jenny says having a masculine man is supposed to stop us from worrying. I agree. What would you add, Lucy?
And I think that those who love you, if they know that you are a worrywart, it becomes, and I see it a lot on some family gatherings, because I have, a family member that's a worrywart, and it's like, it brings out, it's really, it makes you uncomfortable, because it's like, oh my goodness, they're going to lose it because, somebody left the glass without the coaster on that table, and it's going to create issues. So it makes situations so uncomfortable, because that person is so worried about making everything be, everyone be happy, everyone be okay, the house being perfect. And it's like, relax. We're here because we love you. We're not going to worry about anything. We're not going to look at that table that's twisted a little bit to the left, because that's not what we want. We are here because we're people that want to be together, and that's that. So again, that worriness, sometimes it's best to check it, because it impacts everybody else around. Swati says, I enjoy listening to you ladies. I don't mind supporting you. I just wish that more modern women had a similar mindset, because you ladies are so rare that you're almost a myth. Oh my goodness. That's beautiful, Swati. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, Swabdi. And I believe that I pray that the people that need to hear, the women that need to hear, will hear it, whether it's now or later. The internet is forever. And so this is our contribution. This is our drop in the bucket. This is our legacy. And yes, it's an uphill climb. The modern world has told young women to focus on other things, and then they get to a certain point in life and they realize how empty their life has become. Believe me, I talk to them regularly in coaching and consult. So if you are a young bride, even an older bride, or wish to be a bride one day, and you want to keep that good man that you chose and that chose you. Hopefully, hearing some of what we've said and some of the stories that we've shared will help you realize, yeah, I do that too. Or notice when other people do and learn, yeah, I don't want to do that. Kayla says, yeah, that's right, Lucy. I realize I might be a burden sometimes. Thank you for recognizing that. And it's true. You know, think about that person in your family or in your friend group that there's always something. There's just always something wrong. They just can't get right. Even before you get around them, you start to feel a certain way, like, what is it going to be today? And that is not what men want from their women. I'll tell you what my man said. He was talking about how Denzel Washington talks about his wife, Pauletta. And he was basically saying, I am able to do what I do because she handles everything else. You know, when you think about the men who talk about their wives lovingly, and I'm only using celebrities because we know, LeBron and Savannah James, Magic Johnson, Cookie Johnson, all of these, they have created a consistent, peaceful life for their men to be able to go out and thrive. Because I believe, ladies, we're not built for it for the long haul. We, when the pressure gets too much, like we crumble, we break down underneath it. That's why so many women are, on medication and day drinking and all these other things that happen. So allow yourself to worry less. You will be the better for it. I think your relationship will be the better for it. I do want to respond to this. Auntie Jenny said, and then we'll play just a few more minutes and then wrap up. She says, having a masculine man is supposed to stop us from worrying. I agree, but I'm always going to put the responsibility back on us as women, because I don't want to give the excuse that, well, I don't have a man, that's why I'm out of control. I have seen women say that. I was in another live where we were talking about being classy and elegant and feminine, and someone out of nowhere said, well, it's because men aren't blah, blah, blah. That's why we women aren't that way anymore. And I have to respectfully disagree. I think that we can control ourselves, because even with me and the boys, I can adjust my parenting to young men because they're not baby boys anymore, and that's on me to do. So hopefully you have the masculine man of your dreams like Lucy and me do, but I do believe we can get better, even if it's just by ourselves, for ourselves. We'll play just a little bit more and then wrap it up.
So that I have an eye on myself and I give myself the option and the choice to show up in a different way. As long as I stayed a victim, as long as you stay a victim and blame and think your husband is the problem, you will stay stuck and run yourself and your marriage into the ground. So the solution for us as women to these 3 toxic wife behaviors, the solution to our selfishness that bears these toxic behaviors that we have. Here's the good news. You don't need to work on each of these behaviors independently of one another. We have to recognize that we are unhappy. And how I define unhappiness is not a feeling. It's not an emotion. Being unhappy is having an unhealthy relationship with ourselves as women. And we all know that. If you beat yourself up, if you feel like you're not enough, if you're constantly blaming, if you're constantly criticizing yourself and others, if you feel like you don't know who you are, that's a big one for us as women. If you feel like you don't know who you are, if you feel like you're disconnected from yourself, if you feel an emptiness inside of you, those are all our benchmarks to know that we are unhappy, meaning we have an unhealthy relationship with ourselves. And having an unhealthy relationship with ourselves is the equivalent of having low emotional intelligence, our inability to be in control of our emotional state and perceive the reality of our lives because we're seeing through a lens of our unhappiness and our own unchecked emotional state that churns inside of us. So the solution that I teach and that the path I have taken in my life and teach other women is what I call the journey of happiness. And the journey of happiness is building a healthy relationship with ourselves. The beautiful part about emotional intelligence is that it's a learned skill, so that we all have the capacity to develop high emotional intelligence. Good men naturally have high emotional intelligence because they are problem solvers and they are pragmatic and they look for solutions. As women, we are wired differently. We do not typically look for solutions and go into problem solving mode. And so, the beauty of developing high emotional intelligence as a path to becoming happy, having a healthy relationship with yourself, where you feel good about yourself, you like who you are, you know who you are, you're connected to yourself, is that we all have the capacity to take that journey and take that path. And that is what I teach women in my happiness program for women, which is the prerequisite for my Happy Wife program. Both of those programs are grounded in teaching you how to be happy, how to develop high emotional intelligence, and ultimately have a healthy relationship with yourself.
All right, Lucy, I'm going to let you share any final thoughts you have either to that segment or to this stream, and then we will wrap it up.
Thank you, Sorti. When you say I feel at peace when I'm in this space, I love it. And Killis agreed. So again, we do this for all of you. Every time we meet before, to prep for these sessions, I tell Maggie, this is my happy place. Every time after work, all the craziness from work, I come here, and this is just so good to be around Maggie, around you in the chat. So this is a good place to be. And I'm interested on that training that she's got. I might attend it because it's, we should always be learning, eternally learning and trying to share it with other people. And I like to kill this note here, the referring to my immediate family. Usually we show ourselves with immediate families. They either love us or they love us because we become the kids that we used to be, even when we're older, at family gatherings. So I can totally see that's with your immediate family, and outside friends probably think that you're perfect. That's exactly how my family member is. Everything outside, she is amazing, except when family gatherings, it's something completely different. Anyway, thank you so much for being with us today, Maggie. I don't know if you have anything else to say about the finishing school.
Yes, absolutely. So, last final plug, and then I do want to comment on this, and then we'll wrap it up. So, again, the finishing school registration is open. We're 2 weeks away, ladies. The workbooks have arrived, and these are being shipped out. So, I am so excited. Lucy and I put this curriculum together. If you are a woman, or you know a woman who didn't get this type of training growing up, and maybe you find yourself just being a workhorse out here and you're miserable because maybe you're dead inside and you don't know how to tap into your femininity. It is a real thing, ladies. And I love that the Happy Wife School, Karen said, this is a learned skill. And for me, anything that is a skill, you can improve on. I don't want you to throw in the towel and say, oh, that ship has sailed. I can't get any better. One of the things we talk about often in the finishing skill is that the work never ends. I'm in training. Lucy's thinking about taking the training, and coming here and sharing with you all is a way that we can remind ourselves, and I can remind myself, I've still got some work to do, but you can have your relationship along the way. And I have learned that men really give us credit for effort, especially what Suave's saying here. This warms my heart so much more than you know, because you all know there's a lot of content out there, and that is totally fine. And sometimes when I surf these interwebs, I have to turn off some of the stuff that I can only take it in small doses, because you feel yourself getting agitated. You feel yourself getting worked up over somebody else's life that's not even yours. What we want to create in this space is that warm and welcoming community where, The older women teach the young, the men support us and protect us here. And the fact that you feel it even virtually, imagine, ladies, what you can do in real life for your husband, for your home, in your family, in your community. It really does impact. And one of the things my man said this week that was such a compliment to me, to give you all a little bit of insight, I'm such a champion of the men, and even the most masculine man that seems like he does nothing wrong, the way I look at my man, they have their own struggles, their own fears, their own self-doubts, their own demons that they're dealing with. And what it means to a man to have a woman who has hitched her wagon to him, believes in him, like Lucy says, creates that calm and comforting space for him and doesn't try to manipulate to get her way, genuinely cares for him, not in a selfish kind of way. It is like a shot in the arm to a man. It allows him to go back out there and fight another day. Believe me, they are built for it. We are not. Learned that the hard way. But it is such an intangible skill that has a tangible benefit. So I want to encourage you, ladies, to do better and be better. And as for Killis, she says, you're referring to your immediate family. On the outside, your friends and coworkers and cousins think you're great, and you get accused of masking that everything is okay. And I understand. You all know sometimes we've got to put on that mask, but I would encourage us to improve for our relationships and for our families too. It's made me a better mom. You could be a better sister, a better cousin, a better daughter, a better anything. All of these skills that we've talked about, they're really relationship skills. We prioritize the husband relationship, but I think it could be beneficial in other ways. Thank you, Jade says we're doing God's work. And Suave says, even as a man, I enjoy learning valuable information from feminine women. Thank you. Yes, you all have sisters and daughters and cousins, and we're so grateful that it's helpful. And Killa says, that makes me feel better, Luke Hazley. Misery loves company. Auntie Jenny says, each one, teach one. All right. All right, everyone. So we will be back probably Saturday. We're usually here twice a week. And again, the link for the finishing school is in the description, or you can go to teachablemomentswithmaggie.com. We have an advanced class coming in November on wife archetypes, but you have to take the prerequisite, the finishing school first, and you have lifetime access and a wonderful graduation here in Atlanta next year. So excited. All right, everyone. We went a little bit over, but thank you all for being here. Until next time. Adios.
Yes.